But next thing I actually remember is getting on a bus with my bass guitar on my back. It was the 129 bus, and I got off the bus, and I did a rehearsal.
You did a what?
Rehearsal at the garage.
Yeah, at the garage.
Yeah. And it wasn't exactly an audition because it was too informal for that. But it wasn't like I was in before that rehearsal.
Okay.
It was like a kind of a let's just see how it goes sort of a deal. And it must have been without a drummer. Because I don't think...
Well, yeah, because we didn't have a drummer. Dan had gone.
Yeah.
So
I don't know how we did that. I can't remember.
See, I don't remember Jeremy rehearsing in that room, but did he then?
Yes, because I remember coming in when you two were having a conversation. He was going for a bit of a breakup.
Jeremy? Jeremy was always going for a breakup.
I wasn't going to say that. You said that. But yeah, he was. He came out with a profound statement that I'm not going to say on camera because it's probably a bit personal. And then when you both realised I'd come in, you both sort of like went, oh.
Can you tell me when we stop filming? Okay.
Stop talking. But and I just sort of thought, wow, like I can't remember what the words were. It was something like, wow, these are real people. You know,
Okay.
it was something like, wow, this is really human. You know, like the music, he was playing you something and it was beautiful. And then he said what he said and I thought, fuck, you know, this is all, none of this is just, oh, let me just write a song, yeah, that's cool. This is all, you know, like
it meant something.
Fucking God did it, yeah. It was, you know, very emotionally deep.
Yeah.
But it had the energy to just blow the shit out of the mood, if that makes sense. It had the energy to just make you kind of. It was like the musical equivalent of saying, "Never mind, let's go and have a party." You know, never mind, let's go out dancing. Like, never mind, let's go and go racing in the car. I don't know, something, but fuck all that shit. Let's do something cool.
Yeah.
It was like that. It wasn't like, oh, poor me. Oh, I'm so upset. My girlfriend's. It was like, right, you've done that. Fuck you. Let's have some fun. It was like punk, I suppose, energy, but not punk music, and rock and roll vibes, but not rock and roll music.
Yeah.
And that's so hard to find. And that's obviously what's so addictive about it to me. And I remember from that point on, I was so excited because Thursday evenings, where's this coming from? Thursday evenings was my night to come round to rehearse in your garage. And I used to get the bus and I'd get my little earphones on and I'd be like, you know.
Well, that's crazy.
And it was so exciting. And I learnt the material. And I ordered myself a bass chorus pedal.
So, oh yeah, chorus pedal, so you could do the Fear Inside intro.
Yeah.
Bless you.
And then, I just remember.
Did you say Glenn used a guitar chorus?
Yeah,
Thank
he
you.
used normal, because you said, oh, I've never seen one of these before.
So he was using a guitar chorus pedal, but you actually got a bass one.
I never even thought a bass player would use a guitar pedal. Silly me.
Well, you know, we all learn.
But because they made a proper bass one, I thought, well, yeah, I'll get that one. Of
course, yeah.
I thought it'd probably deal with the frequencies better or something. I don't think it's actually quite as versatile. It seems to be a little bit less versatile, having heard other people play with their chorus pedals, but it doesn't matter. I've not used it since. We never used it again. It was only on that intro, Fear Inside, and when we stopped playing Fear Inside...
It's a bit weird we didn't make the most of it, because now, because I'm a producer now, I think I would have said, well, we've got this pedal now, let's make the most of it and do some
He took it with him.
No, I don't mean Glenn's. I mean, like, once you got one, we could have used it a lot more.
It didn't fit, you know.
I've thought this about
didn't fit.
many things. Like I said, I don't want to go forward too much, but, like, obviously when Jeremy left, he took the Face of All Your Fears with him because his replacement could not do that kind of vocals and neither could I. So that song left the set for a long time and so on, right? But it's like, when you have these little things, like, oh, she's got the bass pedal now, so she can do the chorus. Why don't we make the most of it and find some other ways to use it? And it's weird how it was just like, we used it for that and that was it. For one of the worst songs 54 had ever created as well.
No, I don't know. I love that song.
I like the individual parts, but the song as a whole is schizophrenic.
Oh, yeah. It's all over the place.
And
yeah.
That's my fault. Jeremy wrote the best parts. And then I just went, what about this? You know, and
but it worked.
Well, Jeremy didn't say no to me.
Did he?
Yeah, he told me recently. Him and Glenn had words about it. He said, I don't like this fucking song. And Glenn said, well, I like it. They got into something. I asked Jeremy, I said, I don't remember this, was I there? He hasn't replied, so I don't know yet, but Jeremy never replies with the... I ask questions and he answers with something else, so it's just his way. But yeah, Jeremy, the funny thing about the entire Fear Inside thing is, obviously Jeremy's a big part of that. Some of the best stuff on there is, actually all the best stuff is definitely co-written. I guess they're all co-written, but like if you look at Missing Time, for instance, it's an excellent instrumental, but it's mostly him. My input on it was minimal. In fact, when I looked at it and I saw I was credited, I thought, is that even fair? All right, I added this bit, but I don't really feel like I even deserved to be on. Looking at it now as an adult, I think, what did you think? Oh, I added this harmony, so I've written it. Not really. I look at it differently now. If someone came in now and I wrote the entire song and they wrote a guitar harmony, I wouldn't give them writing credit for it. But back then, I didn't understand where I draw the line.
Yeah.
So when I look at it now, I don't really... It's mostly Jeremy. I had very little input, and I'm not sure I'd consider it writing input even with Missing Time. The Face of All Your Fears and Overload, yeah, I'm stamped all over it. But they wouldn't exist if they weren't if it wasn't for Jeremy, both of those songs. So he's a massive part because they're two really great songs. But have you noticed how they're not structured in a traditional way?
Yes.
Like, if you look at The Face of All Your Fears, you've got the verse, then you've got the other verse, and then Jeremy does two choruses together.
Yeah.
Why did you do that? Well, it's bizarre, because we didn't know how to write songs, I suppose.
Yeah, but that's what makes it so fucking brilliant.
Okay, and then Overload, you've got the same thing. You've got the first verse.
You made your own rule book.
Then you've got the second verse, and there's not even a chorus.
No.
Missing Time, there's no vocals, so I was so relieved. I was like, oh, I don't have to sing this one. Because don't forget, I still didn't want to be the singer at this point.
Oh, yes, of course.
I was still looking for a singer, but they were all mental.
Come on, Rodney, give us some symbol!
Yeah, I'll just do it. Okay. So we've done the third one. Then we wrote Fear Inside, and that doesn't have a chorus either. The song Fear Inside.
Yep.
And then by the time we reached Futile Dream, I realised no one was coming to save me.
What do you mean? You had to write a chorus?
No one was going to come and say, right, I'm the singer now.
Oh, I see. Vocally, right?
There's still no like mid-late or anything, but I remember thinking like, okay, you're going to have to start accepting that you're the bloody singer. And I wrote Futile Dream. He definitely wrote the chorus part. You know, the I catch da na na na.
Yes.
He 100% did that. I can say that with 100% certainty. And it really came together, and I thought to myself, this band is starting to get somewhere. And then Jeremy said, I'm leaving.
I'm going to Australia.
I'm going to Australia. And I thought, you little fucker.
I remember going, oh. You know what? Let me tell you a little story about Jeremy. When I was at secondary school, my best friend, Penny, her brother, knew Jeremy.
Okay.
One night, I'm round Penny's house, the doorbell rings, and everyone gets a bit like this. And I'm thinking, what the fuck's going on, right? Someone gets sent to the front door, like, oh, you did it last time, your turn. I'm thinking, what the fuck's going on? The brother opens the door, Jeremy's there with two girls, right, all like this.
Really?
Yeah, all wrapped round him. Yeah, and Jeremy's there smoking a fag, just going, all right, Dave, you want to come out for a bit? And they were all like, no, I'm busy. Oh yeah, David was not allowed to associate with Jeremy.
Does this mean you met Jeremy before?
Yes.
You met Jeremy before?
Before I met you.
You met 54?
Yeah. How weird is that?
That's really bizarre.
He had the label as a little bit of a troublemaker because he smoked and he hung out with birds. And he was always turned up at the door with like an offering for David. You know, like he always had two women. How old would he have been? I don't know. But I just
16?
thought this guy, like there was something about him. Even then, I just thought, well, why do I want to come with you? And just like,
really?
Yeah, I just thought.
Probably for the women.
Just thought you're interesting. I just liked something about him. He just seemed like easygoing and a laugh.
Jeremy's got a really great personality even to this day. Sometimes I feel like me and Jeremy are light and dark, you know, and we go together really well.
Yeah.
So when he left the band, I was genuinely devastated. But the show must go on.
Yeah.
And the search began.
Oh, what a search.
And I won't go into too much about the why Jeremy left. And Jeremy's irreplaceable.
Yeah.
So I wasn't looking for another Jeremy.
No, he's one of a kind.
He's one of a kind.
Yeah.
But I knew the show must go on, and when he'd left, he really took a big part of Area 54 with him. And the funny thing is, he was barely there, but I consider him, like you, I consider him an OG.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Of course he is.
the way I always put it is,
If he isn't, who is?
the way I always put it is hypothetically speaking, if let's say I put the band back together again, it's like some people could ask me if they were, oh, are you looking for this member? Like, I'd be interested. Some band members could ask. Some band members don't need to ask. It's like if I was putting 54 back together and Jeremy said, oh, I'm in.
You'd be like, okay, when you come in.
I'll be like, okay, yeah. They wouldn't be like, well, hang on a minute. You know, you don't need to do anything. If you want to be there, you are more than welcome. And if you don't, it falls to the second person. And the same goes for you. You're an OG, and I don't think people get this. When people think of 54, when I think of 54, I forget that Glenn was the original bassist. Mm-hmm. I only discovered recently you're not on it. Genuinely. I thought, oh, fucking hell, she's not on it.
Really?
Yeah, and I was disappointed. And that's so weird. You are the bassist. So to have another bassist there,
Yeah.
I find that really peculiar.
But the timing of it was also really peculiar.
All right, so let's talk about Rob very quickly. Can you tell me how he comes into the picture? So we had me, you and Jeremy.
And I remember you pulling your hair out, being like, we need to find a drummer. We need to find a drummer. I think we had a gig book.
Oh,
Probably the Rock Garden, actually. And
Okay.
I remember I was at a party. How did I get there? I was at a party from this pub.
at this pub.
I was at this pub.
Don't say the name.
No, I was at this pub.
Okay.
And then I went to a party afterwards because I came here a lot back then. And I went to a house party with the regular gang that was here. And some guy came up to me trying to chat me up.
As you do.
And he said something to me, and I said, no, but do you know a drummer? He
knew this.
said, yes, I do actually. And I was like, bullshit, where is this drummer? And out comes this guy wearing a Megadeth t-shirt, and I was like, no way.
That's very cool.
No way. I was like, you know, one of them pinch yourself moments. I was like, this is meant to be. Like, this is,
A Megadeth t-shirt as well.
of all the things, you know, I really did think, fuck, like this is really cool, you know. So I sat down chatting to him, and I was already half drunk because I left the pub probably drunk anyway, but I used to drink a lot back then. And we were chatting, and all the bands he was mentioning is bands that you'd mentioned to me.
Okay.
And I thought, this is really cool. This guy doesn't seem to be full of shit. That's what I thought. And he told me instead about all of these other bands that he was really into, and I thought, right, I'm not going to jinx this. I'm not going to get too excited. But I think this guy could be a contender, you know? And it was only like, I don't know, we were probably chatting for like an hour or something, so not super long. So I was very sort of like, when I came out of there, I was very sort of like, well, I don't know, Lug's going to have to meet this guy because I'm not the guy to, you know, I didn't know enough about metal, but the names of the bands that he was mentioning as like drum influences were bands that you'd mentioned to me. So I thought, wow, this is quite crazy, you know? I remember I said something about band that I thought was pretty cool, and he laughed and said, that's not metal. And I remember thinking, okay, so maybe you do know what you're talking about, you know.
He did.
But yeah, I remember I said, right, okay, I've got to get your number. So I took his number, and then I think I said to you, like, I think I've met a drummer.
I remember you saying, I think I found a drummer. And I remember thinking, no way. So this new bassist has just come into the band and she's brought a drummer with her. Okay, so what happened? Do you remember, like, so obviously you said drummer, we arranged a rehearsal, I suppose?
Yeah.
What happened? Did you just bring him or did I talk to him beforehand?
Let me think. What happened?
It's a shame we can't find out.
I gave you his number.
Okay.
And I think you gave him a call.
Sounds like me.
And I think that you were both into bikes, and I think you first started talking about bikes. and then you got onto music? Because
I
I
don't
think you
so.
thought it was very
I wasn't
cool.
into bikes then, I don't think.
Well, I just remember that you said to me, he doesn't drive, but he's got a motorbike with a grin on your face.
Okay, I probably would have thought that was cool.
Yeah, I think you did.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it was like, all right, so he can't drive himself around, but he's got a motorbike, you know.
Yeah, looking back now, not very helpful, but at the time,
Yes.
especially
At
with
least-
Rob's kit.
At least he could get himself to your garage
Yeah.
when you had drums, so
Okay.
it did help in that respect. I think so. I seem to remember it being a little bit tight for time, because I do think actually we must have had that Rock Garden gig booked, which was Alpha's gig together.
Bloody hell.
But I remember also thinking, oh, this is just amazing, but it's Jeremy's last gig.
Well, I call him like the Izzy Stradlin of the band. It's like very talented, a big part of the direction. I can hear Jeremy's influence on the band, even on Beckoning of the End.
Yeah.
Because if he hadn't introduced me to, say, Anathema, Another Life is Anathema. Well, where did I get that from? Jeremy, right? And then there's some dissection stuff on there. Even the end of The Face of All Your Fears, Jeremy said, check out this dissection thing. It was Storm of the Light Spain. I went home and I went and listened to it. So when I was writing The Face of All Your Fears and I was going, at the very end, I literally just lifted that from them because I just thought, I'm nicking that. And I literally just stole it from them and stuck it on the end of my song.
Yeah.
All of this stuff is Jeremy, so his influence can be felt everywhere. He said to me the other day, I don't know her, but she seemed nice,
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I said she's an OG. I sent him a clip of that clip that Metal Man sent me the other day.
Yeah.
I sent it to him. I said, this is us doing the last album. Check it out. But I wanted him to see what you'd become because he's in some other country somewhere around the world. And I sent him a message the other day. I said, can you just send me a message? I said, and just tell me, what was your problem with Rob? Because I was so young, I done exactly what I did with Glenn. I just went, oh. And what he meant was, I don't like his drumming. 28 years later, but I had to ask him. And he sent me a video message back.
And I never played with Rob that much, but I just, it's like anything, it takes time to jam with people, and I'm sure after a while, you guys got a good groove together. But certainly when I played with him a few times, I didn't think he kept time particularly well, and just overcomplicated things and almost tried to be too technical metal instead of being technical rock with a bit of metal, if that makes sense. But I was fortunate to play with some very good drummers back in the day, and I have done in Taiwan, and I just think sometimes simple's best. I remember on your first demo that you did, before I was friends with you, your drummer on that, that he was just a solid, good drummer. He didn't overcomplicate anything. And I remember you saying at the time he was just very professional. So it's the same as that. I just felt, sometimes people just want to do a little bit more than their skill set. And maybe that was Rob's problem at that time, but I'm sure later on he could do what he wanted to do. It was a long time ago. I keep pushing that microphone button on WhatsApp and it keeps sliding off and then going to delete message, and it's driving me fucking crazy. Anyway, look, you get this, you get a bonus me. Woo! Oh, and look, Saudi Arabia. Not particularly nice drive today, I don't think, because I'm just going to Riyadh. I think, I don't know if you got that last message. I think with Bob, he always over drummed and used the kick pedal in double kick pedal in a weird, he was always doing triplets on it instead of sometimes just just one clear rhythmic beat. So even though people say, oh, a groove band, okay, you're not in a groove band, but a band still needs a groove, whether that's you know, that or, you know, so. But I always felt, yeah, he over drummed and over complicate everything to show that he was a better drummer than what he was. I know it's weird. You wanted my opinion? There it is.
And the funny thing, the funny thing is, when he said it about Richard, whatever he said about Richard, I went, oh, okay. And we got rid of him. Nicest guy in the world, but we got rid of him. And
You stayed friends though, it's cool.
Yeah, we did stay friends. And when he got Dan in the band, I went, oh, you were right. But when it happened with Rob, I didn't listen anymore. And that's why Jeremy left, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But he would have left anyway, because Jeremy's a bag in the wind. Yeah, he'd blow him wherever. Look, we all got our quirks. Jeremy could not sit still, so he has to go. I choose my words carefully because I say it's like tap dancing on a landmine.
I'm all right with that.
It's the truth. I'm all right with it. I just choose my words more carefully because I don't want to set you off. And I've got my own things too. I'm not fucking perfect, and you're more than welcome to pull me up on it. But that'll have to be the next one because we are done. So I hope you enjoyed that, and see you later.